Hey guys, hope you're good. We are back on another live. This is in partnership with Studio Litchi and the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. I got privilege speaking to one of my favorite professions in the world, which is architecture. I'm speaking to Masego about her work, particularly on the technology side in architecture, how those intersect and how she does it and how she creates work and all that kind of stuff. And what does it all mean really, in terms of the profession basically. But yeah, I hope you guys are staying at home if you can, masking up and doing what's necessary basically to take care of your health and your mental health and your sanity and all that kind of stuff. And if you're back at work, hopefully social distancing, wearing a mask in public. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm just waiting for her to go live, and then we get into it. Let me try and see if I can raise her. Where is she? I'm good at saying, how you guys doing? How's it secure? What are you guys up to? But yeah, how are you guys keeping in this environment and life generally? Yeah. Studio Richard. Hello, Jillian. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hope you guys are social distancing and what are you guys doing? How are you guys keeping sane? What are you working on and up to? Yeah. Sorry about that. People trying to call and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Cool. Let me get into it. Huh? Why am I getting a live request from someone else? To it. Yeah, we're surviving. We have to do what it takes, and yeah. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm well and yourself.
I'm alright. Trying to keep sane. How's
Yeah.
it that side? I in Joburg.
Yeah, I'm in Joburg and yourself.
I'm in Joburg too, in the
Mm.
Maumunding side. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
excited.
yeah.
I'm excited because I've always wanted to become an architect, so
Ah, is
I
it?
just could never do the drawing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was not meant for me. It
Yeah, just a
was
lot
not
of
meant for me.
hard work, a lot of time, a lot of time and
Yeah,
effort.
I just needed the drawing skills to draw anything. So yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No, man.
cool.
This is my first live thing, so it's kind of nerve-wracking, but
First live.
it's my first live. So hey, shout out
Welcome
to
to the
you.
dark side. Welcome to the what they call the influencer side.
Yeah, the influencer side, man.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So, basically, introduce yourself, who you are, and what do you do.
Yes, I am Masego Mahlangu, and I am an architectural technologist, currently doing my master's to become an architect. And I'm also an artist. I paint, and
Yeah,
I at first initially it was my way of like trying to explore architecture in like an artistic point of view, but then it kind of became therapeutic to me in terms of like trying to get that escape from architecture, because architecture is like that whole eight
yeah,
to like I don't know, 8 to 12, literally 8 to 8 type of thing. So you always have to
yeah,
think architecture. So yeah, I would actually thank architecture for opening my eyes to art, honestly,
yeah.
because it contributed a lot to it. And yeah, that's who I am at this
No,
current moment.
yeah,
Mm,
that's amazing. So
yeah,
you're studying now to become a full-time architect, but
yeah.
you're an architectural technologist. Take us through that journey of how do you become an architect, basically? Because I think that there's always a massive confusion on. I thought if you just get the degree, you're done. You can
No,
go through your practice. So how do you become an architect,
no.
basically?
It depends where you go, honestly. But then there's like the B Arc and the B Tech, right?
Yeah.
So I did my B Tech at TUT,
Mm-hmm.
20 technology. and then I'm currently now at UJ doing
Mm-hmm.
my M.Arch. So, well, B.Arch and B.Tech are almost the same things, but it's just
Yeah.
like like just how with medicine you have to do like a certain like 4 years, and then you have to do 3 years after. With architecture, it's almost similar. To be a qualified architect, you need to get your master's. Like, you can't become an architect without getting your master's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
what I'm doing now. So right now I'm just still on the architectural technologist uh, qualification, and
Yeah.
then right now I'm doing my master's to become an architect. Yes,
Okay. That's
senior
super cool.
senior
Sorry?
architect technologist. Yeah.
Senior architecture technologist.
Yes,
Okay.
is
So
that
what
right?
does that mean? What is a architectural technologist?
Like it's it's not far from an architect. I just feel like it's mainly based on how much time you put into learning and your qualification in totality. Like, because a senior architect technologist is a person who has a degree.
Yeah.
Then you get the junior, who's a draft person, who's a draftsman or a draftswoman, and they can either obtain that through colleges or something like that. So it's not necessarily, I feel like it's just mainly about how far you would go,
Yeah.
in terms of like learning and getting that
Mm-hmm.
qualification. But there are means to get it through SACAP, which is the South African Council of Architectural Profession. You don't have to go to school, but I'm just saying, like, it's just it's just a title,
Yeah.
honestly. There's a lot of architects actually who
Yeah.
didn't go to university, who are like very well known architects right now that we reference to in our designs and stuff. But you know,
Yeah.
it's it is it's just that, yeah.
I mean, it's super interesting. So once you're done with your degree and then you become a senior architecture technologist and stuff, what is your dream then? Is it to, and also like right now, are you currently practicing and building any structures that we might know about, or what's happening now? Is it school only?
um, I am involved in a project because I still work part time. So I
Mm-hmm.
am involved in a project. It's a sports complex.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, look at you.
yeah, in a village in the far, I think, yeah, the far west of Pretoria, like, which is deep down, almost close to northwest, which is actually like
Yeah.
northwest. So it's a sports complex. It's a government project in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like developing the community.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working with right now, currently, alongside schooling, and then
Mm-hmm.
also an office, which is
Mm-hmm.
going to be in Victoria East, which I'm busy with right now. So those are what I'm busy with.
Yeah.
But I am passionate about like restructuring like the architectural field in terms of like how, as a black individual, we see it. Like, with doing this master's program, I learned to realize actually like the programming of how architecture is structured in terms to accommodate mainly white people. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
even with the book recommendations, like, they
Yeah.
never involve black architecture in it. They mention architecture that like black people won't be aware of, like gables and high fences. Like, we all know those stuff, from where we're from,
Yeah.
and they categorize it as a South African architecture, and it's not really South African architecture. South African architecture goes down to a wall that's high enough for a neighbor to look over and be like, hello. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just about trying to restructure how people envision architecture for also the black people. So yeah, that's what my main focus is on right now, and I'm trying to also articulate that through my thesis and yeah, and so forth.
Yeah. That's amazing. Because I mean, I've always been interested in architecture. So I've collected books, I have watched documentaries, films, followed people, but nothing's ever like, okay, no, the answer has always been, what the question has always been like, So what does African actually look like in this modern world? Okay, we know the Rondavilles, we know that history, but what about
Yep.
now? Because there's a need for our own visual style of designing for us, for our people, to solve the housing crisis, basically, and all that kind of stuff. So what does that look like to you? Like what let's say, for example, imagine you had all the bank balance, all right, all the money you needed, all the approvals you needed, and then someone says, okay, we want you to solve the housing crisis. Do you have a vision what that could look like in terms of our
Well,
design?
well, not necessarily, because I don't have like the actual visual how to look like, because I believe
Yeah.
the person who comes to you is the first architect. Like,
Mm-hmm.
your client is your architect. If they tell you this is what they feel, you need to understand what they want to produce something better. Do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you may know the technical aspects of it, like how a certain thing should be positioned, how the convenience of a door is here instead of over there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you're designing for somebody, and for that person to feel they themselves in that space, you need to actually consider them. So I don't feel like there is an actual blueprint as
Yeah.
to how architecture should look like for people in general, because each and every person designs their own space.
Yeah.
In my, you know, you're just there to make it. I don't know, to implement it, and
Yeah.
implement it in a more functional type of way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a question there. What do you think of the RDP approach?
Yeah, I see it. I'm not against it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I feel like it needs to involve the community. You know,
Yeah.
like it needs to involve the people who are going to be occupying that space. There's just something about a sense of ownership when you have a place that you're involved in the process. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a sense of you cherish it more if you're involved in it. Like if you
Yeah.
don't do anything in it, then you don't kind of have any value to it. Like especially
Yeah.
the fact that they all look alike. Maybe at least get people to choose their color, to choose
Yeah.
their roof finish style, you know. So this is a thing of, I feel like RDP is not a bad initiative.
Yeah.
I just have my perspective of it needs to involve more of the people who they're building for it to
Yeah.
be successful. Because regardless, even right now, you build an RDP and then they will still go build a two-room shack at the back to rent out, because they didn't really acknowledge actually what this person wanted. You know, like they didn't.
Yeah.
What if they don't want to even stay there? What if they just want that RDP to rent out to people and not themselves? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's just about understanding what the community wants first before developing something. So yeah, that's just
Okay.
my.
You're taking. I mean, that's super interesting because I think there's a concept in the design world and about site responsive. So building for, so you build something, but then it needs to respond to the environment. And I think that's what's definitely missing with in terms of RDP and stuff. And then with RGPs, like I was having a discussion with my mom the other day. She wants to build. She has land. She wants to build a space, a house, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm a big fan of using wood for architecture because that's a big thing global. Like in Japan, in America, they're using paper and wood and all that kind of stuff. Yet here, wood. My mom was like, oh, they don't. I'm not gonna allow a shack. Why do you think that is?
Uh, like first of all, we're gonna have to look at our climate. Like
Yeah,
we have to think of how timber responds to our climate. We have a very
yeah,
dry one, which is prone to fires too,
yeah.
and in some regions it's very wet and humid. So wood doesn't respond well to such climates. You know, when it's hot, and then when
Yeah,
it's cold. So timber doesn't really act well in such climates. It responds nicely to when a climate is in like a medium, you know, like
okay.
the things are just cool, not cold or warm, but just cool, you know. So in South Africa, well, the southern region of Africa, we don't have that type of
In the
a climate.
climate, yeah.
So yeah, so it doesn't really respond well.
Okay.
Mm,
So it
that's
requires more
why.
treatment.
Yeah, it's more of materiality than actual the functionality. Because yeah, timber is a nice thing to use. Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
But the function of it in this type of climate doesn't really work. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my only observation of it.
Yeah. But then I'm seeing a house in Camps Bay. I saw a house the other day in some remote area. It was made of wood and all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming that those guys are treating the wood a bit different for this environment, which hikes up the price. I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's really
Yeah.
expensive actually to subject wood to our climate. Like, there's a lot of things you need to like follow in terms of to make it like appropriate for our type of climate, and also thinking of the fact that it's isolated. It also
Yeah.
contributes. I don't know. I feel like it does contribute to the fact that it's isolated, it's not open. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just those small things, those small factors.
Yeah. So I guess that's the technology side of architecture that we don't get to
Yeah,
discuss
yeah,
when we're building these houses and all that kind of stuff. There
yeah.
was a question there. I'm going to ask it. It says, how is it like being a female architect in such a male-dominated profession? It's not me who's asking this.
Yeah. Well, it's tough, but at the same time, it's it's I feel like it's an experience. You know, it
Yeah.
pushes one over their boundaries or makes one aware of their own boundary that they laid for themselves in terms of like you weren't aware that this is where I'm supposed to end. You know, because I
Yeah.
was one time at a site meeting and I was the only female there. And then at the end of the meeting, I was asked, "What did you prepare for lunch?" And I'm like,
Wow.
"Why?"
Fuck.
I'm like, "Why me?" You know. So just that confusion as to what we subject ourselves to at the same time as how we allow people to uh, I mean, like, interpret our presence there. You know what I mean? So at some certain point, I feel like that taught me to speak up. You know,
Yeah.
because I realized then that I was a very like background type of person, like have an opinion, like slowly raise my hand and say something. But then after that, I'm like, what? What did I do? Although maybe I haven't done anything to make them ask that question, but maybe if I actually came out of this shell of just waiting to be spoken to and just spoke when something came up during that meeting, maybe the response would have been different. So
Yeah.
at the same time, I don't want to look at it as a negative light in terms of like we as women are shunned upon and looked down upon. But I look at it at a point of me trying to better myself and better how I dominate this area and dominate this
Yeah.
field. But yeah, and just to answer the question, it's tough. It honestly is tough because even going on site, it's another experience completely. You know,
Yeah.
the like the site engineer doesn't want to take instruction from you. They want you to first verify where you got that instruction from. You know, like those funny things. Like, who are you to
Yeah.
tell me this? I was even one time where I was meeting up with a carpenter and he didn't want to shake my hand because he felt like he only shakes like men's hand. You know,
Fuck.
a woman is
Yeah.
supposed to respond in a different way. Like, so it just there's a lot of obstacles to pass there. But then if you don't look at it in a positive way, it'll really it'll really like bring you down. But yeah, I've decided to make it a positive thing in terms of coming out of this um, behind the scene personality of Shiloh and coming to the front. So yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Because yeah, I know. I think in terms of architecture, I think I know only about 3 or 4 black architects,
Mm,
and I
mm,
don't think I think there's only one I know that's famous is one which spoke design a while back. It's one woman only. So damn, it is really fucked up. Like the space
mm,
on our own continent, the
mm.
actually is still such a segregated and such a uh like racial and also
Yeah,
patriarchal space and all that kind of stuff. Whereas, I mean, in Zimbabwe, the houses are built like by women, like the rondavels in the rural areas and the
exactly.
kitchens and all that
Mm.
kind of stuff. Yeah, but yet they
Yeah,
women can't build. Yeah,
I was reading about that actually. That it was what the men do the stints, like the structure,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
the woman can actually fill in the fat sheet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's their job. So like it just shows how much power we have as women initially.
Yeah.
But then, you know, we just and like how that could also be a metaphor in terms of like how we just come at the end. You know, there was one
Yeah.
time my husband once said that where he's working, his boss once said that you need sometimes a woman's touch to make it look more comfortable and not so rigid. You know what I mean? So like it's just that thing of how a woman's touch at the end always just completes. Like it just really does complete everything. And then I feel like right now, women are starting to realize that they can do from the beginning, from the structure
Yeah.
itself to the end. Like you don't have to be the person filling in the fat. You can also just design the solid part of it that keeps it up. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's evolving nicely, and it's evolving in a way where we just need to stand up against this whole I don't know, this whole stereotype that you do not belong in this field and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, no, definitely. Definitely. And there's a question there. Do you think acting as a profession has a positive looking future, especially with the globe moving into industrial revolution?
Yeah, I'm trying to look for it.
It's by
So I can see it.
Sichabas. Yeah.
Oh, marketing as a professional career has a positive looking future, especially. I do because I am in it, and I and I want to hope, and I want to hope that I have a future in it. But and I do hope that I have a future in it. But it's it's a very tough one because at the same time, like I feel like we shouldn't ignore what we know and what we
Yeah.
don't. You know, like a lot of us kind of undermine what we know. Like as architects, really underlook ourselves in terms of how much knowledge we have about the built environment as well as development in terms of industry and all that stuff. So even with the industrial evolution, they're still gonna need us. They
Yeah.
are still gonna need us. So I think there is hope for us. Like I really
Yeah.
do think there is. It's just about maybe finding that that gap where you can contribute in because
Yeah.
it's like when you look at architecture, everybody's almost trying to drive to the same thing in terms of like designing a house or being involved in estate. You know what I mean? Like maybe you can just find that gap as architects, that gap where yeah, where you fit in and then
Yeah.
work. So that's a very good question. I haven't really thought about it, but I still feel like we do have a lot of impact in it.
Yeah.
We just need to really find our place in it in terms of involvement. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, definitely. I mean, globally, there's a need, there's a shift and a need um for better housing, so and also like housing that's really for people, not necessarily for profit. So
Mm,
definitely there's I honestly feel like Africa could really come up with some interesting design and structure and city making and place making
mm,
and stuff in terms of what's needed now, because globally there definitely is a need for better housing and housing for people, not housing for for
mm.
housing's sake. Yeah, so definitely, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and the almost sad thing is that we don't understand our own. That's my thing. We try to like imitate the Western type of designs, but we don't really
Yeah,
understand what we need as Africans or as South Africans if you want to narrow it down. But obviously, when you narrow it down, you can narrow it down to South Africans, to cities, to townships, to whatever. We don't narrow it down to a point where we know what we want. That's the
yeah,
problem when it comes to housing. We're just trying to imitate what is already being done, and that never works because housing, you're creating a place of comfort for a person, and if that comfort is not acknowledged, if that comfort is not worshipped to a certain extent when it comes to design, then it's gonna fail. It's honestly gonna
yeah,
fail. You can't bring in a community center for ice skating. I mean, for roller skating, if the community is crying for proper toilets. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, as much as that you feel like the social part is needed, if it's not relevant to the situation or if it's not relevant to the community, then it's not going to work. So this whole imitating Western initiative is also kind of making us fall back in terms of development, in terms of giving people what they want. And we can give people what they want. It's just that you're not focusing on the right thing. That's my observation, yeah.
So basically, yeah, the research needs are not being met.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The whole point of architecture is not being met. Architecture is about designing for someone. Architecture is about fulfilling the need of somebody else. But if you're not doing that, then you're not.
Then what's the points and stuff? Yeah.
What's the point? That's my view.
So someone's asking here, would you ever advise someone to study architecture?
Yes, I would. I would. As stressful and as tiring as it is, I wouldn't demotivate anybody to study architecture. Like, I would just make them aware of what's ahead, but to discourage them, no.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's kind of hard, like, to encourage a person because you're going to find your passion in it. Because I feel like anybody could find a passion in whatever career they feel like they choose.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you choose to be an accountant, and then when you're in it, you find that you don't want to be an accountant, you want to be a fashion designer,
Yeah.
And through accountancy, you found that calculating how much material is, what, those funny things. That's where So I feel like it's passion. So if you're passionate about architecture and if you're passionate about the built environment, I would encourage you to do it. I definitely would. But just be prepared for sleepless nights, for all-nighters, and for feeling like, you know what, tomorrow they can miss me. Those lecturers can, I don't know, they can call and they won't find me.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to be prepared, and it's easier to not be prepared for something you're passionate about than to not be prepared for something you're not passionate about, because you can never be ready for something. So I feel like if you have that passion and you don't know what's expected, at least you have that drive to continue. So I'll encourage you. Yes, do it.
Yeah.
Do it, yeah.
Can you be an architect without studying architecture?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can. You can self-teach yourself.
Okay.
I believe so much in self-teaching, in self-education. I don't know, there was some famous architect actually who was self-taught.
Yeah, there are a couple architects. Yeah,
a lot of them who are self-taught. So that's what I'm saying. It all comes down to passion, and if you're passionate about it, you can do it.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like, logistically and legally, I'm not sure if it's possible in terms of the whole SACAP registration. Yeah. That's where I'm not sure about. I don't know if you need like some form of grading. I don't know if it's a trick to start off with, and then you just move up the ladder from there. But like, to become a qualified architect, I believe it's possible, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I'm not quite sure on that one. But I think it is. You just need because even now, to become an architect, there is a process where you can get your architect qualification without doing your master's, but out of, I was talking about it last week, about experience, something about experience. Yeah, and then you write the test and then they sign you off. So, yeah, you can. I think you can, but I'm not sure. Don't take my word for it.
Yeah. I mean, on that, is it? Okay, I've always said some of the best architects are people that build all the shacks and stuff, because they build for people on budget and needs, right? Not necessarily the best architecture, not necessarily meeting all the needs, but they know how to build now. and they really respond to the needs of the masses and all that kind of stuff quickly and all that kind of stuff. So I guess there is that opportunity for them to later on be converted legally into architects. But I think there's some of the best architects out there. Because I mean, think about it. They can build a whole township you know, on a small budget. You know,
They have.
overnight. Like tomorrow, you wake up in the morning. By tonight, you are sleeping somewhere. And I think that's something that I think architects could learn from. I think that environment, you know. So I don't know. Just that is my thought from an unlearned space.
They're like they are proper urban planners. Like
yeah.
The fact that it can grow from like 1 shack to 100 shacks is something that we should either also like as different qualifications from town planning and stuff. We should actually observe like why are they building in that space and why are people all flocking there?
Yeah.
Either it's convenient to work, it's cheaper. You know, like cost is involved in all of this. Like shouldn't undermine cost. And like the fact that's why I was saying that the first architect is the person you're designing for.
Yeah.
Because if you can't fulfill that need for that person, then I feel like you've failed. Even with all these community initiatives, like if you can't fulfill what they want, if they feel like they are far from work and you build something that's close to 15 kilometers or more from work, you failed them already. You know what I mean? Like it's not what they want. So we can learn a lot from informal settlements and how they design their spaces. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even within informal settlements, there is that random spot that's open, and then you find kids there playing, and it's like, oh, so they know the importance of public spaces as well, you know. So they see that value of a public space. So us not looking at their form of design and trying to implement it in like community initiatives or in like those projects that change the government. It's kind of, I don't know, it's undermining their need. So you are right. You are really much right.
What is your opinion? There's a question here from Lunga Antila. What is your opinion on how developers are building their sites? How they can take, how can they take matters like climate change into consideration?
I feel like the question like Lunga. Yeah. Well, every time when you build, you need to take climate into consideration. I think for me, it's like a reflex, you know. I don't know if it's a reflex on trying to save energy or what, but like the climate change consideration is, it depends. It all depends where you are, honestly, I feel. Because climate change depends where you are, honestly, because let's say with the raising like degrees, it will affect the coastal regions differently to how it affects the inland regions. You know what I mean? Like the inland will become hot and more windy, and then just hot, and then the coastal region will become windy and humid. You know, so it all depends on the on the understanding of it. Do you get, like, for, let's say, like if you're considering Gauteng in terms of design and the climate change, you would maybe consider creating more narrow buildings so you can have a better cross ventilation, so to open up the space, and then also create more openings to like gather in natural lighting so you don't use lights more often. And then on coastal regions, you would have large overhangs because the wind is too strong to enter into a space. So it's just about where you are, how you react to it. I don't know if I'm answering your questions, but every place you're designing for requires a climate study, because it really contributes to how a person lives in that space. Do you get what I mean? So even like the basic things of facing north or facing east, if your main openings are facing east, like you're gonna have cold nights and cold days
Yeah.
because you don't have natural lighting throughout the whole day. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just about, yeah, just about taking consideration where you are. And when answering that question about developers taking consideration climate change into the site, it's just about them actually studying their location better and understanding what the climate is there, honestly, because it differs from place to place. We can't
Yeah.
literally, like, it differs from 3 hours drive, it differs. So it's very hard to pinpoint in terms of saying what a person should do. But I feel like the fundamental is just to do the climate study of that place, and then you'll be set.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
I hope it
There's a question
answers.
here. Yeah. From a John says, what is the one thing you wish you could change about the architecture realm in South Africa?
The teaching. The
Yeah.
teaching is, I feel like the teaching is so, I don't know, like this year, I really just got, like, my eyes just opened to how we've been practicing architecture for not the masses, you know what I mean, as Africans. Like, even the books that they recommend themselves, they don't reflect like South Africa, like right
Mm.
now, the real South Africa. So for me, it's just the teaching in terms of adapting to how we live. And then I was actually really happy one time when SACAP came to evaluate uh, TUT, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and then they like compelled us to do projects within Pretoria because we literally didn't really know about the architecture of where we are studying architecture. We're studying in
Wow.
Pretoria, but we don't know
Yeah.
anything about Pretoria.
About Peter,
So
yeah.
it's just like, yeah, like we didn't know anything about Pretoria. So it's just the teaching itself that I feel like needs to change, or need
Mm-hmm.
not completely change, but just need to be altered in a way to accommodate, you know, like a lot of things
Yeah.
in terms of people understanding their location, their site. Also going back to the site of the climate, like if you
Yeah.
don't understand your climate, you know, your site, you know, you understanding your site, understanding who you're designing for, understanding even in the books where you can't even find like the basic architecture of an RDP.
Yeah.
You can't find that. You need to like self research that yourself. But the fact that almost close to 70% of South Africans are
Yeah.
online waiting for an RDP, very like,
Yeah.
isn't it supposed to be something that is in a book to show, to design a good RDP, what you need to do? So it's just that thing of like, you know, yeah, I feel
The
like it's just
education.
the education. Yeah, the
Yeah.
education of it change. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have you to look forward to save us from bad architecture. And the last question that was asked in the questions here is from Fundo. In your opinion, have we established what African architecture is? It's super important that I get your answer because I got invited to a biennial to participate
Mm.
in a design biennial in London. And the first thing that came into mind was, "Ooh, cool! Let me go show what African design looks like." But then I realized, oh wait, I don't even know what that is. So is there such
Mm.
thing as African architecture in the modern sense? I get the old stuff, but in this modern
Mm.
sense, is this thing as an African architecture basically?
Honestly, right now, I don't see it. Like,
Yeah,
I don't see it as yet. I'm not trying to look at the pretty looks of it, like, you know, trying to look for textures and prints and stuff, African prints. Not necessarily that, but just also the theory about how African architecture works, you know, that everybody enters into the same door. You know, like that kind of thing of everybody celebrates it the same way. Not
yeah,
I haven't seen it as yet. And I feel like there is potential to still see it, you know,
yeah,
celebrating, because African architecture either celebrates nature a lot,
yeah,
celebrates integration a lot
movement and all that
in
stuff.
terms
Yeah.
of, yeah, celebrates movement, celebrates people coming together. And right now, there's a lot of divisions within spaces that don't really portray the African architecture in terms of what Africanism is in terms of coming together. So right now, I don't think so. Personally, I don't think it's there as yet. But I have hopes that it's coming. I do have hopes that it's coming through. You know, I just feel like people, like the drive is different. You know, the motive is
Yeah.
different. And it either, like, it directs a person to a certain way. You know,
Yeah.
like if a person wants an Edgar's, you'll just build an Edgar's. You won't even care how it is. Like,
Yeah.
you put it there and not really consider the context of that space. So I don't know. Right now, I don't see it. Honestly,
Yeah.
for that question, I don't see it. We haven't
Yeah.
established it yet, but I'm not looking down on it. I feel like we have a way to go, and
Yeah.
as long as people see the value of African architecture, not just being the print or the texture or the sound of drums. I don't know, like, you know, it's just that the fundamentals of it, the fundamentals of Ubuntu, the fundamentals of people caring for each other in architecture. I feel like, yeah, then we're on the
Yeah.
right track. Once we see that, then yeah.
Okay. No, thank you very much. It was a long, interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Learning a lot about architecture. I look forward to seeing what you're going to be designing and building for us, you know, soon in a few months and years and stuff. But yeah, thank you for taking the time. You see, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
man.
That's super interesting. Maybe one day I'll become an architect. I don't know. It just scares me. But yeah.
Hey, no, man, you should, hey? Like, you're probably an architect and you even know it.
Yeah.
You are
No.
one, actually. So if
No.
you can think like that, then hey,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Thank you for this. This is definitely a good lesson in designing space and taking up space, basically, in the most physical sense. But
No,
yeah,
thank
take
you.
care. This was insightful. Yeah. Thank you very much. Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys for watching. That was super insightful. Hope you guys learned a lot in getting into architecture and help reshape physically our spaces and all that kind of stuff. Thank you to Masego for teaching us all this. This was important knowledge that we don't necessarily get all the time because there's definitely not enough Black people speaking about architecture and just Black people present in this space besides the builders. So this is quite insightful. I thank you guys to Studio Lychee and Survival Arts and Culture for helping us do this. Thank you guys and take care. It's going to be available if you want to watch it again on IGTV, and then also going to be available on YouTube, Facebook, and everything. Yeah. Take you guys. Chat tomorrow. We have 2 more talks tomorrow. So at 4 and then also at 7. So take care. Bye bye.